You know, um,
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Friday, April 3rd, Burlington, Vermont COVID-19 update. Thank you for tuning in. And as we end our third week under this emergency, it's been another eventful week. We have seen more tragedy and some growth in the impact of the virus this week here in Burlington, including a second significant outbreak at another one of our vulnerable senior homes. We've also, I think, this week really seen confirmation that our hopes that the social distancing efforts that so many people have been working so hard on, that so many people have been sacrificing to see implemented, are working. There is a flattening of the curve that is clearly taking place. Yesterday, after I guess just before our briefing yesterday, the governor's office released new graphs really showing that all of our critical resources are tracking in the direction that is a relief given where we first started and where we thought this could go when the emergency started. So that's the big picture from the week. We've got a bunch of details to get into, and let's get to it because there's a lot to talk about. First of all, we have an announcement to make. We have a new food relief pilot program that is starting now. And the idea here is that the city can help connect resources that have extra capacity with people who need food. We know that the food systems have been under stress during this emergency, given a whole number of factors. We have impacts on the way people typically access food supplies and get food. We also have many people out of work, a significant increase in the need in the community of people who have lost their food security. We see more seniors that are staying home, trying to protect themselves from the virus, and are not, need home delivery. And we've been talking about this over the last 3 weeks, and we've had Age Well on this briefing. We had the United Way and Feeding Chittenden on an earlier briefing. Today we're here to announce a new effort to really supplement those initiatives and make sure that everyone who needs a meal gets it during this period, and to engage our local grocery store, the City Market Co-op, and a number of our Great Burlington restaurants in a new way. And I'm going to have some help in laying out the details of this effort in a moment. I guess I will just hit the headlines, then we'll bring in a couple of my colleagues from the Community and Economic Development Office. This is initially at least a $5,000 5-week pilot program. We're using existing community development block grant dollars. These are existing federal funds that we have, and we're repurposing it for this unexpected need. The local restaurants involved, there's going to be one restaurant a day involved, and they are going to get a $500 City Market grocery budget, and they will cook 125 meals, which volunteers and the resource and recovery team will then make sure are safely delivered to our nonprofit partners.
and Mayor, one quick update there. There's actually some slightly updated information on the slides then. I
see. All right. This is fast even from earlier in the day. We're going to go for 200 meals a day now. Excellent. Before, let's go to the experts who've been working on this day in and day out. Before we go further into the details, can we get Will Clavel and Grace Siffo up? Start with Will. So Will is a member of our CEDO team and our resource and rapid recovery team. And here's Grace Siffo, who's a newer member of our team in the last, how long have you been with us now, Grace? It's been 4 months, 5 months? You're muted there, Grace, I think. But anyways, we'll hear from them as we get this going. Will, we'll start with you. Go for it.
All right. Thank you, Mayor, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Will Clavel, and I work for CEDO, here to provide an update on the new food relief pilot program, which actually kicked off this morning when Jody and Phil from August 1st prepared over 200 meals for 3 of our local nonprofits in need. The idea for this pilot program came late last week as we're hearing increasing demand for prepared foods for Burlington's most vulnerable residents. At the same time, we're hearing from local businesses that wanted to help in whatever way they can. So we launched a 5-week pilot program funded with $5,000 in CDBG funds. And we have 3 local business partners, City Market, August 1st, and Sweetwaters, and 3 nonprofit recipients, the Family Room, Spectrum, and the Heineberg Senior Center. And the goal of this program is to really supplement existing efforts by Age Well, Feeding Chittenden, the school district, and all the many great programs already out there. So using today as an example, August 1st prepared 200 meals. They left them outside their restaurant. As you can see in this photo here, we picked them up at 11 and delivered them to the 3 nonprofits that I just mentioned. And on Monday, City Market's going to be preparing 200 meals. And then on Wednesday, Sweetwaters is going to be preparing another 200 meals. And the goal of this, we're partnering with City Market to do this. They're able to buy the groceries at a discounted price and deliver them right to the restaurant. And then the restaurant provides the donated cooking labor, and we provide the delivery services. You know, our hopes and goals are to bring in additional funding to be able to compensate these local businesses and restaurants who are really stepping up in this time of need. And we also want to scale the program by bringing on more restaurants that can deliver more food to those in need. So those are the details. It's evolving quickly and started today, but 3 days a week, 3 different local businesses will be providing a total of 600 meals a week to those in need. And I just want to thank everyone who's taken part of this program, especially those local businesses who are severely impacted right now by the pandemic and doing whatever they can to help the community. Really makes me proud to be from Burlington. And I'll kick it over to City Market, one of the partners in the program, to give an update on how things are going on their end.
Hi, John. Welcome. I think you might be on mute still as well.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. I know you guys have been on the front lines of this emergency, dealing with some pretty unusual circumstances and finding a way to keep the supply of healthy food moving in Burlington. So thank you for joining us and taking some time to be with us. Welcome.
No, thank you. And just to build on what referencing, but really, for us, food access and really supporting local businesses, local food systems really is at the core of the work that we do. So we are honored to be able to play a key role in being able to support this program. Certainly, it remains a pretty challenging time for the co-op as we serve the broader community, but we are very excited and feel honored to really do this work. And as Will referenced, working with our nonprofit partners, a great opportunity to support those nonprofit partners, but at the same time to work closely with our local businesses, which are struggling, I think, in many ways with the pandemic. But anything we can do to help, we very much want to. So very much up for the challenge and really continuing to look at how this pilot program does over the next 5 weeks.
Well, John, I know I speak for all Burlingtonians when I say thank you to your team and the frontline grocery workers who are restocking the shelves, exposing themselves to the virus, the possibility of a virus infection to keep us all fed and to keep, to provide this clearly essential service. So thank you on behalf of a grateful city for the role you're playing in getting us through this emergency.
Absolutely, our pleasure. And it's great to be working closely with the city and also with our businesses and nonprofit partners.
So we have Olivia. What's the next? Who do you want to go to next, Olivia?
So I think Grace will share a little bit more about this program, and then let's go back to John and May for a larger update from City Market.
Great.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi.
Hi, Grace. Welcome. Now we just lost you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for the troubles with mute. So I've been with the city for 7 months, to answer your question, Mayor. Thanks. And the Resource and Recovery Center has stood up 10 programs so far. The food relief pilot is just one of many programs that we've been working on to support Burlingtonians across the board. The small business and employment team that I've been part of it's been an absolute privilege to be working with Will Clavel and also with Kara Alnarovsky, who's the executive director of the Church Street Marketplace. These partners have been just tremendous. With we actually, all three of us have been small business owners in our own right. Will and Kara have finance backgrounds. Kara has an economics background. And I think that we have a strong understanding of the struggles that small business owners and employers are facing during this crisis. And so we've been able to vision and put into place a grant program using community development block grant money that we had in store for our programs that we right now felt a need to repurpose. We were able to stand up our own grant program. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to Luke McGowan, CEDO Director, for working with us to quickly roll out that grant program. And we also have been culling through all of the information about the CARES Act and other legislation that's recently occurred that is in place to help small businesses and to help employers retain jobs. We are working every day to understand and provide resources to Burlington businesses and to connect them to the legal and economic support networks that exist to try to stabilize their businesses in this uncertain time. So it's, as I mentioned, it's been a privilege, and our work is continuing, and we are learning as we go. And I'm just very, very happy to have the partners at the city that I've had.
Well, great. Thank you, Grace, Will, Luke, the whole team. The tempo on this, to have this idea created last week in response to the need, and then to actually get it live with meals being delivered today is outstanding, and exactly the kind of quick work that this is needed from city government during this emergency. I think we're going to go back now to City Market for a broader update on how they are getting through this challenging period.
Yes, thanks so much. So for us, we've taken a number of precautionary measures, and we've been also conveying this to the community over a number of weeks now. I'm sure that if you've seen both our downtown and our South End stores, everything from the plexiglass here, you can see in the picture of Nora, one of our front end staff, with the plexiglass that we installed into the front end lanes. Certainly, in other areas of our store, we've had to change operations pretty significantly with our prep foods, really doing a lot of pre-packaged foods instead of those before that would have been on the hot or cold food bar. Certainly in our bulk area, we've been doing predominantly pre-packaged foods now versus before, where you could certainly select the food and skip them out, once again, taking precautionary measures. Other areas that we've changed is our store hours. Temporarily, we have changed our store hours in the downtown to be 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. versus before we were open until 11. And also in the South End from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Or I'm sure you've also noticed those measures we've taken. And we also have some enhanced security presence across both stores. And for us, really our staff continue to remain our highest priority in terms of their safety, and certainly for our customer members. And I think earlier this week, hopefully many of you have heard that we agreed to provide an appreciation bonus that we retroed, really a form of appreciation for all the hard work that our staff are doing across our 2 locations. we will have staff wearing gloves as well as using sanitizers. We're providing information to our staff on a day-to-day basis, and really following the guidelines from the CDC and the Vermont Department of Health. And we will continue to look at ways to support our staff, whether it be through our external resources, such as EAP and telehealth options. Lastly, beyond really the work that we do here in the stores, we continue to be mindful of how we can help the community, and that is with our various nonprofit, just to the Feed and Chitin folks, Vermont Food Bank, as well as Fletcher Free Library, donating single-use coffee cups to the Turning Point Center, as well as to-go containers to Spectrum, as just some examples of how we continue to strive to support the community. So from that standpoint, we know that the road ahead still remains very uncertain. We do want to really be very mindful of continuing to monitor the situation and improving our precautionary practices, and really do at the same time appreciate the community support. The outpour has been wonderful, and certainly the understanding as we go through these changes from our members and our customers. So hopefully that gives you some feel of some of the work that we're dealing with. And once again, everyone is working very hard, and we hope to continue to maintain operations in the best way possible under these circumstances.
Well, John, it sounds like a tremendous challenge. It sounds very hard, but it sounds like you're finding a way through it. So thank you. May, did you want to add to that?
Sure, yeah, thank you. And apologies for the echo earlier. We did a little change in location. But I'm May Quilty. I'm the Assistant Director of Community Engagement here at the co-op. And just want to echo appreciation for the way that our community partners have really come together, both with the restaurant community and nonprofits in the area. It's been really incredible to see kind of the outpouring of support and desire from the community to find some way to be helpful at a time when people are kind of feeling a little bit helpless. And so it was a really great way to kind of connect. We really appreciate Will connecting with our executive chef to find a way to help us to partner with restaurants in the area and kind of broaden our reach. We've been working really closely with Feeding Chittenden over the years, but especially through this time, and this has allowed us to expand our reach and work with some other great organizations in the community. And again, a really big appreciation for our staff who've been able to kind of adjust operations, and our prepared food staff who are not focusing on making food for our hot bar anymore are now focusing on making food for the community, and our receiving departments kind of organizing different donation pickups and more kind of complicated systems for that has been really great. So thank you to CEDO and the city for the opportunity to connect with these organizations. It's been a really great way to see the community come together in this time. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you both. Good luck with the weeks ahead, and do stay in touch with the city team and let us know if there are further ways that we can help. We are going to move to the group that is really heading up that assistance for a whole bunch of individuals and organizations and stakeholders within Burlington, and that is this newly created Resource and Recovery Center. Luke McGowan, CEDO Director, is here to give a broader update on the RRC and what's happened this week and where we're headed from here. Luke.
Thanks, Mayor. So I'm happy to sort of present what is a pretty sprawling virtual effort to help get resources to Burlingtonians. So you heard from Grace and Will, who are part of our sort of employer outreach team and this food pilot. That represents just kind of a tenth of what the virtual center is doing. So we are looking at sort of 10 major issue areas that we're trying to answer questions on, get resources to, and launch initiatives on. And really that's daily. We're doing this every day. So I said it might be helpful for folks to understand we're a virtual call center. So this is a team spread out now, mostly from their home offices, who are coordinating using different tools, new software, new back-end tracking systems. And we've actually cobbled together something that uses a lot of different tools to deliver a new service for the city of Burlington, and that we think is proving useful. It's also a interdepartmental effort. So this is folks from CEDO, from BED, from the library, from the Church Street Marketplace. And so it's kind of includes really everybody in the city has been pulled in. We're a router. So when we take a call or an email, we try to very quickly answer that question if we can. And if we can't, we go to track down the information, because often the resources are available at different levels from different nonprofits, from different community partners. We see our job as helping to connect those dots. So what you're looking at, and what I think the slide is up there, that shows kind of to date, and already it's a little out of date, but we fielded about 213 inquiries over the course of the RRC. So that represents over 200 different Burlingtonians who've reached out to the RRC for help. And that's broken down mainly along those lines. If you can see in the chart, essentially about 20% of those requests have been employers. And most of those questions have been not only how can I stay in business, but how can I keep my team on board? How can I navigate all this new guidance that's coming from the feds around the Paycheck Protection Program and the Small Business Loan Program? You also see there's a physical health section, and we are not a crisis health line. So we certainly, if you are in crisis, we want you to call 911 as you would normally. But we've already been fielding people who are just looking for a little extra guidance in, well, how should I interpret kind of the recent orders that have been coming down, the recent things that the hospital has been releasing. And so we've been offering support there. We also had a jump yesterday. There were a lot of requests for thermometers that came out of the announcement yesterday. So we've been working on that. Kind of going over to the right of that chart, you can see, we've set this goal of responding to everyone as quickly as possible. So within 24 hours, and we are mostly hitting that goal, but we know that there are times where we haven't been able to hit that goal. Generally, not always. That's because, one, we're kind of learning new systems. And so sometimes we're not able to track whether something came in to someone's personal email and how do we enter that into our system. So we're getting better every day at that. But it also represents sometimes there is a complicated question that we haven't gotten yet before. And so I do encourage people, you should reach out with any question. And once we answer that, once we figure out what resources there are to bring to bear, then we can be quicker about the next one. So keep those hard questions coming and we can answer. And so I did just want to share a couple of stories from actual interactions we've had with callers, and kind of on the topic of food. Our priority at the RRC has always been ensuring food, health, and shelter for the most vulnerable in our community. And just an example of kind of the complicated nature of the requests we're getting. So earlier or late last week, we received a call from and this affects actually 3 generations of residents. So there was a grandmother who called us for help navigating her unemployment insurance claim. So we helped her with make sure she could get online, get into the insurance claim queue. Then she called back because she has an adult daughter who is now taking advantage of the motel voucher program that's offered by the state, who was having difficulty serving her 1-year-old, her 1-week-old infant. She was having trouble tracking down food, tracking down diapers. And so very quickly, because she wasn't technically a resident of Vermont, she kind of fell through these cracks and didn't have those resources. So our staff was able to find those resources and get them to her. So we helped 3 generations there. We also, we're doing everything from matching sort of food providers and nonprofits to the resources they need, but also our team, when we identify new needs, we'll go stand in line at Feeding Chittenden to make sure that someone who's called in looking for food can get that food. And that happened just a day ago. And it really represents kind of lots of different people surrounding a problem and trying to solve it. So I'll, kick it back over to you unless you had other questions about kind of the last couple weeks at the RRC.
That's a great summary, Luke. And I do want to make sure it's clear, folks, that these are shown on this graph here. These are actually sort of specific one-on-one consultations. The way the RRC is working when you are figuring things out, learning how to address needs in this new environment, you're very quickly moving to create new web-based documents, sources of information that we believe, and I don't know if we have any numbers on this, maybe in a future time, but the website itself every day grows in the kind of information that is available there and that Burlingtonians can access. And so we hope it kind of builds as a useful tool over time. We're going to have you back next week to talk more about the CARES Act, but I think maybe we'll leave it, maybe just a preview of that. We're thinking next Tuesday you'll probably be back.
Yep.
And have been able to kind of sift through this massive $2 trillion federal bill and be able to offer more guidance and to employers about how to access some of those resources. So we'll look forward to the RSC being back then.
Yep.
Excellent. Great. A couple other things. A number of other things we want to hit here still. So we've been talking for over a week now, I guess, since the governor issued the stay home, stay safe order. And really before that with the earlier orders, we've been clear that we're looking to Burlingtonians to understand these orders and to comply with them voluntarily. And we've seen enormous cooperation with that. And I want to voice gratefulness for that. Again, I do think that is the main story of this week, is that these social distancing measures are having a positive impact. They are saving lives. Thank you to the thousands of Burlington individuals, households that have been working very hard to see those orders implemented as the governor, and I hope they would be. We have been involving the Burlington Police Department and the Parks Department in an education effort since these orders began. When they see individuals or groups who are not complying with these orders, there has been a major effort to get information out through those two departments and through all sorts of other kind of online mechanisms and through posters and signage to educate the public. And again, it's been overwhelmingly successful. At the same time, there has been, as we have talked about on past briefings, a small minority of individuals that have not been complying, some of them willfully not complying, and we do have some new announcements to make about how the city is going to proceed with that going forward. We've got Deputy Chief John Murad here to speak to enforcement of the stay home, stay safe order going forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for having me here. Yes, the fact is that there are some in the city who are undoing the work that is being done by everyone else. The people in this city, our neighbors, are working incredibly hard and making a lot of sacrifices to keep all of us, but particularly the most vulnerable among us, safe. And those sacrifices ought not be undone by a small number who are either purposefully or just recklessly ignoring the orders everyone else is following. We are going to be implementing civil tickets that allow officers to issue tickets when education fails. So our priority is going to remain what it has been up till now, which is talking to people, making people aware that we're all in this together, that this is something that all of us have to work on in order to keep our neighbors safe. And yet there are those who refuse to cede to that, to listen to that. And in those instances, which are thankfully rare, but are nevertheless real, we are going to be issuing civil violations. Again, if we witness other kinds of crime, if we see things that are crime above and beyond defiance of the governor's executive order, we will be taking action appropriately to those crimes. But in these instances, when the only act that is being committed is a defiance of the governor's order, we will have another step to take in the progression of what we always start as an educational outreach.
Excellent, Chief. Thank you for that. And I do want to say thank you as well to the State Department of Public Service, as well as the Attorney General's office that has been working hard in recent days to clarify and give guidance on how the governor's orders is to be interpreted during this emergency. And so it's a team effort that is involved in so much of this emergency response, and certainly this is part of it, figuring out how law enforcement is going to respond to these unusual times. So thank you. We'll keep keeping the public posted, and we do hope that this additional tool will not be one that we have to use frequently, but will be a meaningful one in ensuring that the city of Burlington is doing everything it can to keep the broader public safe through this crisis. I'm going to look ahead to Monday now. Monday, April 6th is an important day on the municipal calendar. It is the day that the new city council is being sworn in. 3 new city councilors are being sworn in, and it is the day that the charter calls for the mayor to give a state of the city address. For the first time, we will be making those important spring functions of local government happen through technology and through a virtual meeting. It's all going to happen over Zoom. I will be in the mayor's office, but other than that, City Hall itself will be closed, but everyone who wants to participate can do so through Zoom, and also can watch through channel 17. And when I say participate, we will be having a public forum as we do in all public meetings. The council will also be electing a city council president, and they will be electing members of the Board of Finance. I am looking forward to working with this new council. Certainly none of us expected to be have this set of circumstances to be what is the main shared work as we begin this new term. I did want to say that I had an excellent conversation with Councilor Max Tracy, who is expected to be elected city council president on Monday. And Max and I we were elected on the same day back in 2012, and we're from different parties, but we've worked together on many issues over the 8 years. I certainly have a lot of respect for Councilor Tracy and expect he's going to be an outstanding city council president. And our first conversation about how to handle this emergency, how to keep the administration and the city council working well together during this time when the people of Burlington need us collaborating, need us getting things done and communicating well. I think I was very appreciative of the call, and I am looking forward to the shared work in the weeks and months ahead. Finally, I want to update the public on items that we have talked about over the last 3 weeks in various announcements, and give you the latest on where we are. So it has been, so we have one of the other, I think, major stories of this week with respect to the emergency is that we have seen the federal and the state government come to recognize that going forward from here, masks are gonna play a key role. We have been focused on this as a city for a few weeks now, going back, I guess, to really March 20th was when the analytics team first started identifying the need for a local initiative with respect to masks. Initially, as we talked about earlier in this week, that started out as a effort designed as essentially a backup effort for our healthcare workers. As it's become clear that locally masks are in pretty good supply for our healthcare workers, this has shifted, and as we announced Wednesday, become an effort that is now focused on fabricating high quality masks for essential workers to wear as they do the work that's necessary under the stay home order to keep the community safe and functioning. So essential workers could include everybody like the cashiers at City Market that we had pictures of earlier, to Burlington police officers, to gas station attendants. There's a long list of people who we really need to keep working through this emergency if we're gonna get through it. And Right now, people are putting themselves at risk when they go and do that work because this virus is invisible. We don't know everyone who has the virus. People have asymptomatic transmission, and masks can play a key role in slowing the spread of the virus. And certainly when someone is sick, even if they don't know it and they are wearing a mask, their chances of transmitting the virus is substantially less. So on Wednesday, we announced that we were in the pilot prototyping phase of this program. The news today is that we are moving from prototyping to production. So in addition to the community partners, Lyric Theater and this sewing group up in Milton that had helped us build the prototypes out of this bold denim cotton that the city procured, we now have an agreement with Vermont Teddy Bear Company and new support from others like Queen City Dry Goods to dramatically expand that production going forward. So we have, I want to just make sure the figures are, these are the latest figures. I want to make sure they're 100% right. So we have today about 300 of these masks. These are the masks that you can see shown on the screen there. That's the director of the Lyric Theater wearing one of the masks that she's and her group have helped produce. It's really a great story that Lyric Theater was able to take their costume designers and costume fabricators and repurpose that talent to making these masks. We are going to have, we hope, our plan is to have about 3,000 of these masks completed, fabricated by this time next week. And that will go a long way towards creating the masks necessary to mask all essential workers in the city of Burlington. Chief Murad and I were talking earlier, Burlingtonians should expect Burlington police officers when they are out of their cars. You're going to see Burlington police officers wearing masks. I have started wearing a mask when I'm out there. This is something that we want people who are in these jobs and have to be moving around about the community to be wearing these going forward. There is more information about the mask program up there on the website. The next, so more to come on masks, but I think that's enough for today. I also want to speak to a Burlington Police Department investigation into rental car agencies. Were you in the middle of this one, Chief Murray? Do you want to speak to this? This is just, I think it's a good story about how all of our agencies, including the police department, are taking on new tasks and how we're trying to respond to inquiries and concerns that we hear from the public. So go ahead.
Sure. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, we were informed by members of the public about concerns that rental agencies for vehicles and for commercial vehicles like U-Hauls might have been operating in ways that were not compliant with the governor's order. And so we had officers do some look into that and again, prioritize education. At the airport, where we maintain a contingent of officers and a supervisor, that supervisor visited the rental agencies at the airport and ensured that all of them are complying with the governor's order, which allows for continued rentals, but only in certain kinds of situations, specifically, or at least particularly, when rented to members who are people who are performing essential services. Similarly, we had a detective go and check with U-Haul and determine how they were operating. They were operating in ways that were compliant with the corporate directives, but we were able to ensure that they were also compliant with the governor's directive. And finally, there was one private rental agency here in the city, again, a place run by actually, I believe, a former law enforcement officer who was in compliance with the order, was fully cognizant of what the order entailed and the ways in which rentals are currently limited to people who are performing essential services. So being able to educate people, work with them to make certain that we are getting voluntary collaboration with our neighbors in ways that make all of us safer is really the key here. And both of those are good stories and examples of how police are doing things that are a little bit outside of our normal lane, but are nevertheless important because they do keep with our primary mission, which is to keep people safe.
Great, Chief Murray. Thank you for that. And two quick final updates, and we'll take some questions if there are any. Did just want a further update on the thermometer initiative that we spoke to earlier in the week. Just to want to update folks on the group of senior homes that has gotten thermometers from the city to help them with their efforts to keep the virus out of those senior homes, to take the temperatures of everyone before they enter the facility or get far into the facility. We have prioritized supplementing we've made it as a top priority the senior homes in figuring out where these thermometers should go. We have gotten requests from numerous other groups as well, and as we make sure that the senior homes have gotten everything they need, we are going to turn our attention to distributing these thermometers to other organizations as well. I think this thermometer effort, having thermometers in our lives in this kind of new way, is something that's going to be with us for a while as we figure out how to come out of the stay-home order and deal with the fact that we still have the virus out there and we don't have a vaccine yet. One of the ongoing measures, I believe, I'm anticipating to try to contain the virus and keep it from spreading quickly, is to continue these efforts to take people's temperatures in these areas where you have a large number of people, certainly flowing into sensitive institutions, and perhaps that will expand as we get farther into this. We're putting more and more effort into thinking through what is the world going to be like when we come out of this stay-home order. We will have more to say about that in next week for sure. And then finally, we had a brief update yesterday that the first money from the United Fund, this new United Way program that the United Way launched a couple weeks ago, and that I helped raise funds for. I said yesterday that we were right at about $120,000. Actually, I was a little short on that. $160,000 now has been raised, which is beyond their initial goal of $120,000. And I just, on behalf of the United Way and the many people now who are benefiting from those dollars flowing in such generous amounts, I want to say thank you to everyone who has, in this time of great economic uncertainty, dug deep and found a way to give, even with so much happening in the world and such financial turmoil going on out there. So with that, I think you guys have questions in the room?
Two, if that's all right.
Yeah.
First one, just some clarification about the citations. Is it going to be a fine paid to the city? Is it just a citation that is just a piece of paper? What's the actual penalty that's levied with the citation?
So it's not a citation to appear in court. It's a ticket, and it will be a civil ticket, and there will be a fine associated.
Any idea what that fine might be?
I believe that the Attorney General's guidance suggests that it can be as high as $1,000, but I do not know yet what we will be levying for example, violation.
Okay, and the second question was about the masks. Is the city bringing in more fabric to be sending out to these? You mentioned new partners and expanded operation, trying to buy a factor of 10.
Right.
Make more. So how is the city bringing in these resources, and how are they being taken out?
Right. Not sure, Ross, if you saw the photo we had the other day at the presentation a few days. We had a whole truckload of this material. So I think it's 1,400 yards is what our initial purchase was, which the estimate was that sufficient to make 20 to 30,000 masks. So this is something that can be scaled up with the materials that we've already procured. We'll have more to say about that in the days to come. Well, I do expect, especially with the guidance shifting at the state and national level, to really kind of welcome more and more groups and really encouraging more and more groups to wear masks. We certainly are thinking about what we do once we've got all the essential workers protected. What do we do beyond that? And stay tuned for more on that. Did you guys, you're all set? Olivia, are there any questions online?
Yes. So our first question is from Derek Brower at 7 Days. And these are two questions also about enforcement. First part of the question is, Chief Murad, I think you spoke to this a little bit already, but will civil tickets only be issued upon direction of and in consultation with the Vermont Attorney General, and only after repeat noncompliance per the directive issued today?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Olivia? I apologize.
So will civil tickets only be issued upon direction of and in consultation with the Vermont Attorney General, and only after repeat noncompliance per the directive issued today?
So I think civil tickets are something a little different than in that order. These are the things that we're still working out. I can also answer your question a little bit with a little bit more clarity from the city attorney. That it would be, I think 500 is the maximum, and it starts out at a lower level and moves up after repeated violations.
The second part of that question is BPD aware of any businesses that haven't been following the governor's executive order?
We are not aware of any businesses. We are looking into Airbnb, and we are trying to determine the compliance of Airbnb. And we have members of our detective services looking into that on behalf of the state. Again, most of these do not necessarily involve enforcement on the part of BPD. They involve referral to the state and the Emergency Operations Center there, which then takes appropriate action.
And Chief Murad, our city attorney is watching the webinar and just wrote in with a little more information. So we set an ascending scale starting at $100 for municipal civil tickets, then $250 and up to $500 max.
Thank you, Eileen.
I do want to just clarify your point too. I mean, the constituent, your point about the having looked into rental agencies, you did find that U-Haul was operating in some ways that were not consistent with the governor's order, and
that's correct.
And
they have
because of the
self-corrected.
BPD's actions, they then self-corrected.
Yes, sir.
So we are, if the members of the public do you see something they have questions about whether it is correct, we are following up on that to ensure that this order is being applied fairly, being applied in conformance with the way the governor intended, and being applied in a way that's going to maximize public safety. Did you have something else, Olivia?
Yes. One last point on that, also helpfully from Eileen, our city attorney. Municipal civil tickets are permitted under the directive without contact with the Attorney General, and the city will be issuing more information about that shortly, says Eileen. Next question
thank you for that clarification, Eileen. And just to, I hope people see this as an example of like how quickly things are moving now, and how many different levels of government and agencies are involved in these complicated processes of getting an important matter like how a city fine is going to be applied right. The AG's directive just was the final version of it was just issued in the moments leading up to this press conference. So thank you, Eileen, for weighing in and making sure we are doing our best to accurately characterize this for the media and for the public as we're making this last announcement before. We thought it was important to say something about this now. This is the last time going into the weekend. We have seen some uptick in problems on the weekends, and thought it was important to update the public going in as to this new posture. And thank you to Eileen and Chief Murad and the AG's office and the state police and State Department of Public Safety for all the collaboration to give the Burlington Police Department new tools to keep the public safe this weekend. Go ahead, Olivia.
Great. Next question on the same topic from Aiden Quigley at VT Digger. How are officers going to decide who to ticket?
You want to speak to that, Chief?
Yes, sir. Thank you. So officers are going to decide who to ticket based on the behavior of the person. That is what dictates every action that an officer takes, the behavior of the subject. And if we witness people who are refusing to accede to education, refusing to accede to pleas for collaboration and cooperation that keeps everyone safe, then officers will take next steps as appropriate. And those next steps now include the ability to ticket. But those are officer discretion issues with regard to the behavior that they are witnessing.
I want to, and we also, our colleagues, appreciate the team effort here. Brian Lowe, our Chief Innovation Officer, who's really been spearheading the mask initiative, did just want to clarify that range I gave. We feel comfortable saying the materials that we have are sufficient for 20,000 masks. We may be able to stretch some more out of there, but I think probably it's too big a range that I was given there. 20,000 is what we think is clearly feasible with the materials that we have now. Maybe we'll get a little higher than that, but that was the figure we were aiming at with that procurement. Olivia, did we?
No additional questions.
Okay, Luke, was there something you were hoping to chime in on there?
It's on the enforcement issue. At the RRC, we've been sort of working directly with our colleagues in the police department because we know that it's not only about people sort of willingly wanting to flout the rules, but it is an education issue. There's lots of new guidance, there's language access issues. So we have a team, I think we heard earlier this week from our language access team, but we're now sort of working sort of actively with the police department to generate, okay, what are allowable activities? How can we communicate them in different ways? Because this is a topic that has come up at the RRC. We've been getting calls about it. So that's just something we're working on, because we know sometimes it's not just about people not wanting to follow the rules, it's because they don't understand them.
Great. All right, I think we're gonna leave it there for the day. If there were reporters on the line that, I know we put a bunch of information out there quickly about these civil infractions. If there's anything further that needs to be clarified, please be in touch with Olivia and we'll do our best to nail down any ambiguity with how those questions were answered. Thank you, Chief Murad. Thank you, Luke. Thank you to all our guests on the phone or on the Zoom lines. Last kind of announcement I want to make, or thing I want to point out, for anyone who hasn't had enough of this, who has more questions that they are hoping to have answered, I am in a half hour participating in an event that Twitter has been doing nationwide today, where it's an effort to sort of ask. It's Ask the Mayor, basically, hashtag Ask the Mayor, and here locally it's Ask Moreau. And I know some people have been putting in questions over the course of the day. We will be tweeting out answers to any questions that we get starting at 3:30, and hopefully we'll get more information out that way. Again, we had the announcement about the state of the city. We will be doing our best to make sure that is viewable through all those platforms. I guess we won't go over that again. Thank you everyone for tuning in for this. Thank you to all my colleagues who worked so hard this week to stand up this third week of the city's response. And good luck to Burlingtonians as they head into another weekend. Thank you for everything you're doing. We're on the right track. Let's keep it up. We're going to get through this. Thank you.